What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another how-to. On this one, we're going to make a custom map frame using a few different materials. The first thing that we make is our frame, and that's going to be a 1" by 2" whitewood board. Second, we're going to need our center layer, which is our whiteboard. You can find these at Home Depot or Lowe's as well. And then you're going to need about 1/4" birch, and that'll be your back layer for your map. And you could do this differently. You could do the birch out front and you could do the whiteboard in the back. It just depends on what look you're trying to achieve. Next, we're going to want to go to Snazzy Maps. This is probably one of the best programs for getting maps. I use either my own custom map design or basically their limitations of what's going to show up on the map. So I found that Roadie works really, really well. And this one's Roadie, and it's going to give you a good thickness of streets. It's limited, there's no wording on there, so it's going to give you basically exactly what you're looking for cutouts or for engraving streets. The main thing to do here is looking for the address and making sure that you get the correct area. So I'm constantly looking back and forth between Google Maps and Snazzy Maps, making sure that I have the exact home location to either put a star or a little marker so that they know. I'm always looking at the streets and the cross-referencing them. Once you know exactly where the house is on Google Maps, then you can come over to Snazzy Maps and make sure you have the right location based off of geographical references like this J Hook Street, and then try to find out what crossroads you want. Typically, I like to have some major arteries there, some highways, something that they would find familiar. We have interstates. So you're not going to always know the area that you're doing this for because it's probably going to be for somebody outside of your area. But look for the major intersections and stuff that would be familiar to you in your city, and around your home, and kind of play off that. Once you have figured out exactly where you want the map to be located, you're going to go to download image. And once we click that, it's going to give us a couple options. I typically maximize this. You do get 10 downloads a day with Snazzy Maps. It's a really cool program, again, and you can curtail your map to your liking as well. And they have a ton of different themed ones. So 1,000 pixels per inch, both horizontally and vertically, and then scale factor ×3. And that should give us plenty of information to do an excellent trace on it. So in most cases, it goes directly into your downloads. I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to open it so that I can see what it looks like before I even bring it into Lightburn, make sure I have the right location. So I could find the house real quick, and it would be right over there. So now I could bring it into Lightburn and then do a quick trace on it, and that'll start the process of making this graphic. Now, obviously, we're not limited to creating a house cutout, but that's what we're doing for this video. So I'm going to do a quick search in Google, find house outlines, and then find one that I like and use that to basically cut out the map to my desired location, and that's going to be my front board, my whiteboard, and then the back board will be the map. So let's bring that into Lightburn, and we'll do a quick trace on that. And now that we have our house outline, let's outline our streets. And we don't necessarily need this large map. So we can easily, once we go into the tracing part of Lightburn, we can basically square off or box out what we want. We know the house is right here. So if we wanted to, when we go to trace, we can create that box and then only trace what's within that box. So again, at least on my Mac, it's Option T to trace. I'm going to box out the boundaries within where this house is right here, like this. And this way I'm just grabbing this area. Um, you never know what you're going to want, so I actually created the map much larger, but that's fine. I mean, we can adjust it as needed. All right, now that you're done, click OK. Let's remove the picture of the map. Let's delete that. And now we're going to focus on getting that house cut out. So let's resize the house. Make sure that we change the color so that we can actually see the overlap and make it easier for us to determine where it is. So again, I'm focusing on where this house is located so I don't forget. It's not my house. I don't remember exactly where it is. So kind of important to make sure that the project's house is centrally located and we have it on our map. But resize the house so it encompasses all of the street areas that we want. And then once we have that, like I said, make sure you have it a different color so you can see it during this process, but we're going to end up welding this all together. So the house is over here. So obviously when I traced the outline of the house, it made an inside line and an outside line. So we're going to have to split that apart so we can do what we want here. So ungroup, and now we have access to both the inside line and the outside line separately. And I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to paste it over itself. And you don't have that option here, so you can use your keys to do it as a hotkey, or you can do paste in place. So we can also use our inside and outside offsets to achieve the goal, but this is how I prefer to do this. So at this point, we select the map because we want the map to be cut out by the inside of our house trace. So select the map first, second select the inside of the map, or the inside of the house. And then once we have the inside of the house selected, we're going to we will do an intersection of two shapes. So basically removing all of the outside and keeping the inside of the house, like that. Now once we have that done, we can basically take that inside line and weld it to the street so it becomes one object. So we'll have to rejoin or group together the outline of the house so that it's weldable again. I'll resize it a little bit. Now before I weld the streets to the outline of the house, I'm going to use my art library because I have some stars there. I'm going to grab a star. I'm going to put it where their house is. It may not be the biggest star, but at least it'll be the location of where their house is located. Get that over their location, which is right up here. We will resize so it fits, and then I will weld it right to the streets. There are a few different ways that you can do this. So one way would be using the star and a line offset to cut out the streets. This way you had a basically floating star. So we'd do a line offset. This time I did it to the inside. I'm going to use the exterior line. So I selected the streets, selected the exterior, and then I'm going to do a cut by using the subtract boolean. The other way, which is what I'm going to use, is I'm going to do a line offset, and I want it to match the street width and basically almost look like it's part of the street system. So I created a line offset of the star. I'm going to group these two stars together so that I could weld them or use them to weld to the streets. And that's one of the caveats about welding. You have to have a complete graphic, not just the outside lines. So those are grouped together.
and I'm going to select both the streets and the stars and then join. And now that's kind of what I want. It should look kind of cool. All right, I'm happy with that. All right, at this point, I'm going to take all of my text and get it in the font that we want, and also lay it out, align it all, and just get it ready for lasering. The next step would be creating the box that we're going to have, or the main rectangle for setting into our frame. Now, it's going to be important to match the size of the frame that you're making. So either you're going to make this first and match your frame cutout to this, or if you already have a frame, then making sure that this matches and will fit in. The way that I do it is I typically will make this cutout and then measure my frame to the rectangle, and then make all of my 45-degree angle cuts to build the frame, just slightly shorter. This way I can recess it in. It's going to be like a shadow box without any glass. Of course, you could put glass in there, but that's not how we're running this one. As I finalize the alignment here, it's always great to ask yourself questions. If you've watched any of my videos, it's what I always do. Um, and I'm asking myself what I want to align with what. So I want to align this text with this box. And at that point, then I can go up and click align. If I did it the other way, then it's going to shift my box over. So always have an anchor, and that's going to be what you second select. Now that I have everything aligned and ready to go, we're going to start changing some of these colors to my standard of cuts and engravings. And so I'll be turning all of my text and all of my fill sections black. All of my cut sections will be blue. And then we're going to get this sent out to the machine and get it going. I did notice that I still haven't welded the frame of the house to my map. So basically, I just want a little bit of overlap onto the frame of the house. And I'll just expand the streets a little bit so there is that overlap. And then we could just select both and then join them together by using the union of two shapes Boolean tool, which is right over here. Okay, so now, of course, when we go to send this to the laser, we're going to be doing it in different jobs. So we'll be turning on and off some aspects of the design to send over to the laser. Um, and let's go ahead and do that. First, let's take a look and see how everything's going to look. So obviously on this design, we have a cutout in our whiteboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slight offset of the house, and then turn that to blue, which is my cut layer. And then now we can move on to our settings and getting it all set and ready to go to the laser and be engraved first and then cut. Since we are doing the whiteboard first and not the map on the birch plywood, then we need to address the layer of the streets and shut it off. So if we change it to a different color and then we click output off, then we don't have to worry about the streets being sent over to the laser this time. Wow, this is a different graphic. I just want to show you an example, since I didn't cover this in the other video that I made a while ago. Um, if we look at the preview right now, it doesn't show. Actually, we got a couple of remnants up there. That's okay. We will fix that right now. Get rid of that and get rid of this. Um, so if we look at the preview, we don't have anything else inside the house cutout. So it's going to, this is on our whiteboard, it's going to engrave the name, the house address, and then it's going to cut out both our whiteboard and then our house outline. Now that would be, I mean, it doesn't matter which way you send it over to the laser. This could be the first thing you do, it could be the second thing you do, but you're going to be doing two different jobs. Um, One will be the whiteboard job. The second one, or the first one, depending on what you choose, would be the birch map job. So now that we have this, the reverse of that would be um, we take the red area, and that's going to end up being um, black. So we can take all of this and turn it red, and now all of that's output is off, and we'll unselect that. We will go over to this part here, the maps, and we will turn those black. And then if we look here, now we have our cutout to match the whiteboard, but this is going to be our birch board, and we have our engraving of the house. So again, two separate jobs. One's going to be sent over with the names and address, along with the cutout of the house. And then the second one will be sending over the cutout of the frame and the engraving of the streets. And that just allows you to do those two different materials, both the whiteboard and then the birch board, but in two different jobs.
So if we've turned our layers on and off correctly, this would be the layer with just the streets and cutting out the birch to match our whiteboard cutout, which has already been done. Let's go to the next step.
So here I have the front plate, the white front plate, that's going to go on my wood map. Something like that. But I need to make sure that it is secured. So I typically use a spray adhesive like that, and I will just spray the back side of this sheet and then basically set it on top. This stuff is extremely strong, used in commercial carpet, interior of cars, lots of different uses for it, but it is some heavy duty stuff. Of course, it's 3M. Make sure I get the edges good, and then I will just place it right over. I could use wood glue, but this stuff is quick, and you would need a pry bar to try to get it apart. So nice, quick, and easy, fast drying, and I'm done already. Making this whole thing from scratch, you're going to need a little bit of woodworking experience. I have my miter saw where I cut my 45-degree angles. We do have a router, so I'm actually routering out a nice little frame rest in there. So I'm routering out just enough for those two pieces of wood to set in there nicely, and nailing it all together, nailing and gluing it all together. So that's how I'm building the frame. Of course, you can just buy a frame with glass in it and make something to fit in the back. But I'm building these all from scratch. Works out to be a little bit cheaper that way.
So once you have everything built and everything lasered, I typically will basically set the whiteboard, the glued whiteboard and birch board into the back of the section that I routed out, and it's a snug fit, so it fits really good. But I'll put a little bit of a bead of silicone around it to hold it there, and a few nails, kind of put it in there at an angle so that that whiteboard never comes out. Okay, guys, and that's going to wrap it up for this one. I appreciate you watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. We will continue to try to create cool content and give you some new ideas to help you create some revenue and different projects with your laser. All right, guys, thanks for watching House of Lasers. Peace out.